Hey everyone, welcome to today's video. Welcome to the Gaming Daddy channel. Thank you very much for tuning in. I appreciate you guys so much. So for those of you who have been long time, audience members, you guys know that I try my best to at least follow Massive like a hawk. And I do this because it provides a little bit of clarity. It helps me to be able to shape my content and even inform you guys. So I appreciate you guys because, y'all keep me on my toes. You push me to basically find out and try to figure out stuff before I even open my mouth to say it. So that's quite interesting. And today I was looking at their website, looking at their hires, because right now my entire focus is basically on what in the world they're doing. So I saw that they actually need a sound designer for the Avatar project, and I was like, what's really cool about the Division and the Division 2 is the sound design is actually pretty interesting. So I remember watching a games developer conference presentation that was done by one of the sound designers from the Division 1, and he actually did mention a whole bunch of approaches that they took to making the sound in the game. In fact, even getting to the point where he talked about one of the funniest sound memes in the Division 1 game, They Got Alex. That was actually a bug based on a behavior that they at first didn't even understand what was going on, but they were able to rectify over time. But by that time, everybody kind of saw it as an inside joke. They got Alex, but we didn't know that it was actually a sound design bug within the game. So these were the fun days, when we embraced bugs from the Division 1, and took them with strides. I think once the Division 2 came out, there was just a little bit less tolerance for bugginess in the game. But, I think every video game has bugs because of the complexity of making games. So far, so good. The Division 2 has reached an aspect where its fidelity is so much better, especially if you remember the Division 2's launch, where we had that annoying sound bug that really did, pervade the entire game and ruin the experience for a lot of people. In thinking about the sound design nonetheless, it was very interesting to figure out okay, what really goes into making the sound for a game like this in an open world, and why is it so interesting, or why is it attractive, or even better, how does it play a role in your gameplay experience? And what's really interesting is it actually does a very good job in actually making you immersed in the game. And you think about all the different sounds, your weapon sounds, enemy sounds, different kinds of effects, different types of explosion sounds, different types of collisions. All these things come together to make for a full player experience. And I think these are some of the things that subconsciously draw players to the Division game, or even wow other players who come into the Division game for the very first time. I'm talking people who are seeing the game for the first time. I'm not talking about all of us who've played the game for 4 years, and many of us are just tired and we're just like, oh, the game is boring. Of course, it's boring because, we've played basically 4 years of these systems set up by the same people. So yes, we can hit that boredom aspect. But when you go take this game to somebody maybe who's been playing some other game, they cannot in any way dispute the quality of how they've actually designed that aspect of the game, and something that basically makes it, in my opinion, attractive for other players. And this brings me even closer to some other aspect of the sound that I actually enjoy, which is a soundtrack design. And this is done by a gentleman named Ola Strand. He's been at Massive, and he did the soundtrack for the Division 1 and also the soundtrack for the Division 2. Now, however it is you want to play, the game, you have to say that there are some soundtracks that basically resonate with you. For me, it's the soundtrack from Napalm Production Sites from the Division 1. Now, if you don't know what that soundtrack sounds like, then you probably don't care about that soundtrack nonetheless. But that soundtrack is absolutely amazing. In fact, the way it loops when you're playing that mission on Legendary is actually crazy good, because they actually use the loop from it to actually do one of the wave spawns of the legendary NPCs, and it really does heighten the excitement. It really does get you ready. It's a very good sound cue that tells you, hey, enemies are coming, and they actually do that very well. And I was thinking, the gentleman that actually is doing the soundtrack for the Division and Division 2, I don't know if he's going to be tasked with doing a bunch of the soundtracks that are to come when it comes to Avatar and when it comes to Star Wars, but I don't know about Star Wars. I think usually Lucasfilms may have somebody who is in that realm that would do something like that. But to be very honest, I would be very interested in seeing a depiction of his work being done on something like Star Wars. Now, I don't know how Lucasfilms usually does their stuff, but a lot of that music and a lot of the soundtrack stuff is basically in some sense licensed to Disney. And this is something that I don't know that they're going to just allow for anybody to just do the sound for the game. And if anybody does the sound for the game, it might have to go through different channels. The two games that Massive is going to be making, I don't know how much red tape they're going to have to actually cross through in order for them to be able to achieve what it is that they want to achieve when it comes to making their own open world games. Because even the Avatar game, they're working in close conjunction with Lightstorm Studios in order to be able to bring the game in terms of visual effects nonetheless. So I can see a little bit more freedom when it comes to soundtrack design on that side. When it comes to the Star Wars game nonetheless, I don't know. It's a really interesting question that I'm trying to figure out. But until they put anything on paper, until we see some of the workings behind the game, we may never even know. We may not see or know who are the people working behind some of these other gameplay aspects until perhaps the product is much more fleshed out. But nonetheless, I wanted to just put this topic here in, as a discussion piece, because I know this is one aspect that the Division excels. It's a very small aspect, but it's something that, as you guys know, as a Division agent, I usually enjoy pointing these things out, because they are some of the stronger parts of what makes the game actually a very strong, entry when it comes to third-person shooters in the market. I mean, it makes it very unique because there aren't a lot of third-person shooters that do have the close to MMO style, setups, and the Division is just one of very few, which happens to just do, in my opinion, what it feels it's its best job to do, or what it's able to do in its own capacity when it comes to, all of the factors that go in, having to work through multiple areas of development, dealing with different cogs in the wheel. It's a huge undertaking, but so far so good. I think those gameplay elements that make the game at least appealing to a lot of people are solid. And hopefully we can see these things translate into the next entries that are coming. And more than likely, and which is actually much more of an interest to me than even the Avatar game and the Star Wars game, another Division 3 entry. I wonder if we're going to see the same sound quality, if we're going to see the same sound designers, and if we're going to see, more than anything else, the same soundtrack author do a Division 3 game. I think that's likely, but hopefully we're going to see it very soon. Thank you very much for even listening to the video. I appreciate you guys so much. You guys are amazing. Thanks for all the support. Thanks for all the kind words. I really do appreciate you guys, because you... how do I put it? You guys give me a lot of the challenge to go out there and make sure that I'm a content creator that can serve you in this space. So I'll talk to you later. Peace.